Hello, everyone. So nice to see you. Happy summer. We celebrated the summer solstice last week. And this is just a reminder that we're about to have our summer break in July. The Department of Instruction teleconferences will be on summer break until Wednesday, August 3rd. So no teleconferences during July. We'll see you in August. In a teleconference a few months ago, someone had asked about the Rosicrucian Healing Center that was at Rosicrucian Park in the 1930s. And I asked everyone to share in the chat, if we had a Rosicrucian Healing Center, what would it include? And I was very interested in everyone's responses, so I gathered the information from the chat, and we've been including those experiences in our week-long immersion experiences that we have, that we've had at Rosicrucian Park. Last week, we had foundational Rosicrucian principles. For a week, we explored the basic Rosicrucian principles. And then back in March, we had the deep dive and immersion into the Rosicrucian teachings. And some of the things that members had said during that teleconference that they would like to see in a Rosicrucian Healing Center are using color and fragrance and sounds created by crystal bowls and drum beats, to practice a lot of vowel sounds together, to have time to reset and rebalance and get out of our routine, to have fraternity and fellowship, to experience music. So we've incorporated all of those into our week-long immersion classes. We had a few questions left from May that we weren't able to get to. So I'm going to start with those, and then we'll look at the questions for June. So the first question, on meditation and other cosmic attunements, we are encouraged to suppress as much as possible our objective consciousness in order to enhance deep communion with the God of our heart. If that is so, why do we light a candle? Why do we light incense that can stir our objective consciousness? This is an excellent question. So the reason that we light a candle and we burn incense is to signal to our autonomic nervous system that we are preparing for meditation. So it helps, because we have experienced other sanctum periods before, once we light the candles and burn the incense and make the gestures when we are working in our sanctum, it tells our whole system that we're just continuing the next sanctum period. And regarding fire, the monographs tell us that fire is the intermediary between the material and spiritual worlds. And looking at a flame or a fire can help to transport us into the unknown. We're not seeing anything known, like a face or a car or something we recognize when we look in the fire. And that just helps us to get to the place where we close our eyes and go within. And fire still serves as the intermediary between the material and spiritual worlds, even if we're not looking at the flame. So we're invoking that. The fire flame is tangible and not tangible. So it's invoking that. And if any of this distracts you, then don't do it. Next, visualization is to be energized with emotions. Why then should we embark on some rituals like incensing and lighting that may weaken this energy, rather than embark spontaneously on the visualization, which can well up the energy? This is related to the last question. And again, lighting incense or a candle signals to the autonomic nervous system that we're preparing for mystical work. We are attuning with the vibrations of what we want to manifest, attuning with the field of actuality. So if you find it more helpful just to immediately visualize, then do what works best for you. The next question. Some fratres and sorors say one ought to be careful when rendering help to those in need. First, help must be requested. Must we wait for someone who is suffering to ask for help before we give a helping hand? Second, we must be discreet in order not to affect the lesson the situation is meant to teach. Is every suffering karmic? Does this mean that we should not render help? If that is so, why do we embark on metaphysical aid? So again, these are very thoughtful questions. And it seems that we should do the best we can in every situation. And it's true that sometimes this may mean not helping someone if it would be enabling them. So we just use our best judgment to be as compassionate as possible, knowing that every test and trial and disease and financial challenge, that everything has valuable lessons. And so we just choose the situations that we think it's appropriate to help with metaphysical aid. Next question. We are told that lessons received through our monographs are strictly confidential, but why are some made open on the internet? Are these lessons no more confidential? For vowel sounds, overall exercise, awakening the psychic centers, to mention, these are confidential, but now they seem to be open to the public. So we don't present these in their entirety. And if you want to share a vowel sound for healing with someone whom you know who is not well, that's okay. If you know someone very well and you think they would be open, you can say, you know, I'm familiar with this vowel sound KE. It helps establish harmony throughout your being, might help you if you're not feeling well. So you can do that. What we wouldn't do is say, wow, the Rosicrucians, we have a whole degree on healing. Let's start with number 1 and go through all these lessons. So you can share, say, one vowel sound or one technique that might help someone. You'll notice that in our teleconferences, we never present all of the vowel sounds or all of the psychic centers. Next question. In the Rosicrucian model prayers in the monographs, the reference is on I. Does this mean that we cannot capture our families and loved ones as we offer our prayers? Yes, you can expand your prayers to include your family and loved ones. And often first we work on ourselves, but our mystical work and our prayers and our healing almost in every case also include sending healing thoughts to other people, to all beings, and to the planet. What is the egregore of the order? And we've discussed this in a few previous teleconferences. The most succinct answer is that it is the energy of the Rosicrucian Order, of every Rosicrucian ritual, every Rosicrucian's work in our sanctums, all of our activities. It's all of the energy that makes up the Rosicrucian Order, from the past, from the present, and including the future. How can I be protected from black magic? There are exercises for protection in the Rosicrucian teachings and rituals. How true is crystal gazing, or what we may refer to as visiting a mirror, a kind of divination to find out a fact, especially to know who committed an act? So these practices are not part of the Rosicrucian teachings, and you can determine if they're helpful to you through your own experience. Next question. How can one apply the discourse on prosperity and expansion of awareness by Grandmaster Julie Scott? Is it by daily affirmation or by visualization? Is it at the sanctum? This is another excellent question. There is a article available online and a podcast recording called Prosperity and Expansion of Awareness. And it presents Rosicrucian techniques for manifesting what we want to experience in our lives. And so related to this question, sometimes the best thing to do is not to say, I specifically want this, because we may not know what is best for us, not only at this time or down the road. So sometimes the best technique for opening ourselves up to prosperity is just to be so present that whatever presents itself, we're ready to engage with. We're ready to activate it. The monographs and H. Spencer Lewis's writings on visualization are very clear about one thing, that we don't tell the cosmic how to manifest what it is that we want in our lives, that we have a clear picture of how we want to feel, and we feel a lot of emotion about that. So we don't focus on the details, we focus on how we want to feel in that new state. What should our daily practices be? So the Rosicrucian monographs present many meditations and exercises that we can practice, and every one of them is extremely valuable. It's important that we don't choose so many practices to do, let's say first thing in the morning, that it becomes overwhelming for us. So we think, I don't have time for all this, I have to get to work, or I have to do something else, and we don't do it at all. So be aware of what works for you. And there are a handful of Rosicrucian exercises that are strongly recommended for first thing in the morning. And you can choose one of these, or you can do all of them and more. The Rosicrucian Order published almost 100 years ago, the Rosicrucian Code of Life. And here is the very first topic covered in the Rosicrucian Code of Life. In the morning, before rising, thank the God of your heart for the new day that you are privileged to live on the earthly plane. And ask the divine to inspire you throughout the day. Then, standing facing east, take 7 deep breaths as you focus on the vitality that is awakening in you. Afterwards, drink a glass of water and then begin your daily activities. So if you're busy in the morning and you can't commit to a long meditation, this is a great way to start the day, to get everything moving in the right direction. We are encouraged when we can to do that part standing outside, and especially if we can be in grass that is wet with dew. Dew is a conductor of Earth's magnetism, and with the water in the dew. So it's a great way to get Earth's magnetism. Now, some other practices that we can do first thing in the morning are focusing on our breath. This helps to calm our autonomic nervous system. And of all of the Rosicrucian practices, the one that contributes most to our attunement with cosmic consciousness is intoning the vowel sounds associated with the 7 major psychic centers. And there is a meditation presented in the very first cycle of Rosicrucian lessons. It's a special meditation for each day of the week where we intone one vowel sound related to each of these 7 psychic centers every day per week. They're not associated with the day of the week, but since there are 7 of them and there are 7 days of the week, this helps to make sure that we get to all of the vowel sounds. So this is a relatively recent addition to the first cycle of monographs. So if you were a member a long time ago and you haven't revisited the Rosicrucian monographs lately, you may want to go to cycle 1 for this special meditation. We have a question on how to magnetize water. This is an exercise that's presented in the monographs, and it's another valuable practice that we can do for every day if you have the time to do this. So here's how we magnetize water. We take a bowl of cool water, or you can use a glass, and don't use real glass. Don't use a styrofoam or a thermos or something. Use a real glass, and have this bowl or glass in front of you, and have your hands just around it. Don't touch it. Have your hands like a ½ inch away from the rim of the glass or the bowl. And then we close our eyes and we practice deep positive breathing for about 3 minutes. Positive breathing is when we inhale, we hold our breath while the lungs are full. And when we exhale, we don't hold our breath. We breathe back in again. So we're holding our breath when the lungs are full and not holding our breath when the lungs are empty. We do that for about 3 minutes. And while we're doing that positive breathing, we concentrate on the psychic consciousness that is animating the cells that are in our hands. So the cells in our muscles, our bones, our tissue. Even just doing this right now, my fingers are tingling, thinking about focusing on that energy. The psychic energy vibrates in the nucleus of every cell. And when we intone the vowel sounds related to the psychic centers, when we intone any vowel sounds, it stimulates that energy, that positive psychic energy in the nucleus of every cell. So that's what we're doing for 3 minutes. And then after that 3 minutes, we drink the water right away. Don't leave the water for later. We drink the water right away. And that's how we magnetize our water. Here's another question about morning practices. I mentioned standing out in the grass that's wet with the dew when we do the vowel sounds first thing. We can also walk barefoot in the dew for 5 or 10 minutes while taking deep neutral breaths. And neutral breaths means that we don't hold our breath on the inhalation or the exhalation. So we breathe in deeply, we don't hold it. We exhale deeply, we don't hold it. And we do that for about 5 or 10 minutes out in grass that has dew on it. And of course, all of these exercises would be done discreetly without anybody observing, without drawing any attention to ourselves. Next question. My question has to do with know thyself. Some traditions say that we aren't our body or mind. Instead, they teach that we are the awareness that operates through the body and mind we possess. And then there are many aspects and characteristics of what the body and mind actually encompass. So my question asks how the Rosicrucian teachings compare and agree or not to this idea. Rosicrucians are encouraged to consider knowing ourselves. On the front of our monographs, it says, know yourself and you will know the universe and the deities. And we have rituals that state that the purpose of every Rosicrucian is to know ourselves. Then it states, how do we do this? By listening to the voice of our master within, our inner self. And we can do this by practicing self-observation, by being aware of our thoughts. At the end of the day, reviewing what our actions were, and in that way, observing ourself. So there are many techniques: meditation, contemplation, developing intuition and the psychic sense, by understanding the nature of the soul, by developing an awareness of the vibrations within each cell. So there are many techniques, and then each of us needs to determine for ourselves what it means to know oneself. It could mean to know that we don't have a self. It could be that we have a deep connection with ourself. So that's ever the purpose of each Rosicrucian. Next question. Can you tell if the teachings of the Rosicrucian Order are uniform and all the administrative principles, discourses, rituals for both AMORC and TMO are all the same in each jurisdiction? Yes, that is the case. Next question. Most of the time during the teleconferences, I hear fratres and sorors mention the challenges they meet when wanting to visit a lodge. For example, it's far away. Is it possible to have those challenges from within our being? If so, how can we overcome those challenges? And then a second part of this, if there are challenges within, how could we promote that change within if it is there that a change can occur? So we can visualize ourselves in Rosicrucian events with emotion. Again, a clear picture activated by deep emotion. All right, then we have a few questions regarding the booklet Liber 777, which is made available to Rosicrucians in cycle 1 of our monographs. And this is one document that's also available to non-members. And this member says, it is with great respect that I ask these questions. First, the sanctum is a holy place that I have imagined and is created by me. Why do I need permission to enter a place I created as a holy place? This is regard the sublime essence purifying my contact. So Liber 777 presents an invocation that before we, first of all, the celestial sanctum, where we go for this attunement, is a symbol that we've created that represents the highest plane of consciousness or the highest plane of spirituality with which we can attune. So that's what the celestial sanctum is. And then there's an invocation before we do the meditation to enter that place, that we express our purification before going there. And we do this for at least two reasons. One is that it sets our intention for the work that we're going to do there. And the other is that we are stepping into another realm, into a sacred realm. Another part of this question is the protection of the Egregore of the order. It says, what negative influences would be exerted on me in my holy place? Why would there be negative influences regarding a place that I imagined and created as holy? And so it says in Liber 7.7 that no negative influences can reach you there. So this is a very thoughtful question from this member. And the reason that it says this in Liber 7.7 is to point out that this is a place of perfect purity. And then the last part of this question about Liber 7.7.7, returning to objective consciousness. Question, why do I ask the cosmic to make holy my contact with what is already holy? The name celestial sanctum by definition is above the earth and holy. And so after we have attuned with the celestial sanctum, we ask that our attunement be sanctified. And the definition of sanctified is to make holy. So this soror has a very good point. We're in a sacred place. It's already holy. And I think that the reason that we use this invocation to leave the celestial sanctum is it's a way of giving thanks and of acknowledging the preciousness of our attunement. Here's exactly what the invocation says when we leave. May the cosmic sanctify, again, to make holy, my contact with the celestial sanctum. So that's one possible interpretation of it. Also to remind us of the sanctity of being able to attune with this high plane of consciousness. All right, the next question. Please explain the true mystical or Rosicrucian meanings of cosmic or God's laws, cosmic or God's principles, and cosmic decrees. So these are all cosmic or natural laws. And we've talked about this a little bit in a previous teleconference. The Rosicrucian Order has published a document called the Rosicrucian Ontology. And ontology is our statement regarding the nature of being, like what is being. And one point in the Rosicrucian Ontology says, our destiny is determined by the manner in which we apply our free will and by the karma resulting from this. So the Rosicrucian Ontology is saying, here is a natural law. This is for us to consider that our destiny is determined by the manner in which we apply our free will and by the karma resulting from this. Another example of a natural law is from the 4th degree monograph dealing with birth and death. And it says, birth and death are human concepts and never mystical actualities. They correspond more accurately to stages in a cycle, the cycle of cosmic life. So this natural law is saying that birth and death are human concepts, that we can view death as the end, but this is a human concept. We also know that energy never dies, it's transformed, and we as human beings are energy. If we go deeply enough into ourselves, we are energy and information. So we're energy, and that energy is not going to die. It's going to be transformed into something else. So this natural law is saying birth and death are human concepts and never mystical actualities. They correspond more accurately to stages in a cycle, the cycle of cosmic life. Or we could see it as these are stages in the eternal process of life. Birth is part of the eternal process of life, and transition is part of that. Another natural law that is presented in the monographs is that energy follows thought. Energy follows thought. Okay, we have another question here. What are the various stages of cosmic illumination? From an 8th degree monograph, it says, no matter what terminology is used, the state of perfection results from a merger of consciousness of self and cosmic consciousness. So the state of perfection results from a merger of consciousness of self and cosmic consciousness. When mystics experience this merger, their soul personality completely identifies with the universal soul and receives the ultimate influx of wisdom. From then on, their thoughts, words, and actions conform to the divine laws and perfectly reflect the omniscience of the divine. Our next question is the subconscious mind and the master within the same thing or two different things? Addressing the subconscious mind with positive questions and suggestions is giving me very good results, this frater writes. So I'm going to share with you what H. Spencer Lewis said about the master within. Assuming for the moment that human consciousness is dual in its expression, and there is evidence of a deeper and more retired consciousness called the inner self, in contradistinction to the material expressive outer self, we find that this inner consciousness is often personalized by various authorities and generally referred to as the master within. So to condense that, there is a deeper and more retired consciousness within us, more than the consciousness that we usually interact with, and that's the master within. Then H. Spencer Lewis continues, the belief that there is an inner light in each person that truly guides that person substantiates the mystical idea of a master within, or of a secondary personality that is divine in its essence, omnipotent in its wisdom, and immortal. So H. Spencer Lewis is defining the master within. It's a deeper type of consciousness that is divine in its essence, omnipotent in its wisdom, and immortal. There is a Second Temple degree monograph that talks about our subconscious. And here's what it says. Our subconscious is responsible for all of the involuntary functions of our physical body. Down to the smallest detail, our subconscious devotes itself to maintaining the vital life force within us and to ensuring that no pathological condition will compromise its activity. Without the intervention of our subconscious, we could not accomplish any voluntary action, since it is the subconscious that allocates the energies required for everything we accomplish through our own will. The brain is only a transformer of the psychic impulsions continuously sent to it by our subconscious. Our subconscious is one of the major manifestations of our psychic consciousness, that deeper consciousness. I'm going to read that again. Our subconscious is one of the major manifestations of our psychic consciousness. Therefore, the best way of being receptive to the subtle impressions regularly received from it consists of awakening our psychic centers. And this is what I referred to earlier with those exercises that are suggested for each day, where we focus and do vowel sounds associated with each of the 7 major psychic centers. That's what we're doing with that daily meditation. We are developing those psychic centers, which are places in our body where a lot of nerves come together. And they're either at a plexus. One example is the solar plexus. That's the only one that's not a gland or an organ. The others are glands or organs. So it's where a lot of nerves come together. These are centers of energy and information. And when we stimulate these 7 psychic centers, then we receive subtle impressions more easily from the divine, from the psychic awareness, from our master within. So that's why we do these exercises with the 7 major psychic centers. Then that monograph continues, to achieve perfect cosmic harmonization, we must use our subconscious as an intermediary, since it is the subconscious that constitutes the symbolic portal providing access to cosmic consciousness. So we use our subconscious in order to connect with the master within and cosmic consciousness. All right, another question. When doing the vowel sounds, how will you know your psychic centers are getting more in tune? What will you notice? In my own experience, I find very deep relaxation and alertness at the same time. And since we had a number of questions about the psychic centers and intoning vowel sounds, we're going to intone the vowel sound that stimulates our entire psychic being. I mentioned, and in the monographs, it gives us details about the 7 major psychic centers. And those are the ones that we focus on. Then when we want to get a coherence, even more coherence with all of the psychic centers together, where their energy works with the next psychic center's energy and really creates a resonance, the vowel sound to use for this is tha, T-H-A. So we're going to practice a couple of simple exercises now. If you would please sit in whatever way is most comfortable for you. We'll take 3 deep breaths, becoming more relaxed with each exhalation. Now, for the next couple of minutes, breathe normally and feel the air as it goes in and out of your nostrils. If your mind wanders, no problem. Just gently bring it back to feeling the air going in and out of your nostrils. And you may find it helpful to breathe in through your nose. And when you exhale, purse your lips and exhale, but don't make a sound. So it'd be you inhale, purse your lips, and you exhale for as long as you can, or you can just breathe normally through your nostrils. Now focus your attention on the psychic energy vibrating in a tiny cell in your left big toe. Expand your awareness to your entire left foot. Now focus on a tiny vibrating cell in your right big toe. and your entire right foot. Now your left lower leg. Your right lower leg. Your left upper leg. Your right upper leg. Your hips. Your abdomen. Your chest. Now feel the energy vibrating in the fingers on your left hand. That's the psychic energy vibrating in the nuclei of the cells in your left hand. Expand to your entire left hand. Now the fingers on your right hand. Your entire right hand. Your left forearm. Your right forearm. Your left upper arm. Your right upper arm. Now bring your awareness to the energy vibrating at the base of your spine. Feel the energy in your lower back, your middle back, your upper back, your shoulders, your neck, your jaw, your mouth, your ears, your nose, your eyes, your brain, the top of your head, feel the psychic energy vibrating throughout your entire being. And now we'll intone the vowel sound tha that stimulates the entire psychic being 7 times. Ready? Inhale. For the next few minutes, attune with this harmonious, vibrating energy. Place your hand somewhere on your body where you're feeling especially relaxed. And anytime you want to recall this feeling of deep coherence between the psychic consciousness of your cells, you can just place your hand there. Maybe it's your heart, or you can even do something like this, where you just create this connection so that later you can go like this, or put your hand on your heart and re-experience this harmony. And be aware of when we do things that get us out of this harmony. As we go through our day, maybe a half an hour from now, see how we're feeling at that time. And if we're not feeling in harmony, you can think, oh, okay, here's what I did that took me out of that state. Just so we can be aware of that the next time. And then again, we can gently just pause a moment, and put our hand on our heart, or do this with our hand, whatever it is to bring us back in that moment of coherence and connection and resonance with all of this psychic energy vibrating so beautifully together. Thank you all so much for participating today.